or they drove 4 cars and rented a house. So
Wow.
we have so many people here, and yeah, it's not usual that you see people you know from your hometown. So thank you. I'm Holly Feen. This is Janine Conley-Berry. Our third presenter, Laura Little, couldn't make it, as it turns out, so it'd be just the two of us. And we wanted to start by explaining our title, which isn't maybe exactly accurate in terms of beginning an art therapy program. I recently revisited an article by soon-to-be HLM Randy Vick, The Dimensions of Art Therapy Service. It's an old article, but a good one. And he uses the terms art therapy sensibilities. And I feel like that would have been a more accurate title. We used art therapy sensibilities in responding to the realm of need at a community center. That's also a phrase from his article. And he talked about bridging the gap between classic models of art therapy and contemporary needs. And so that's really what we did. So check out that article from 1996. What we are going to do is talk about our program that is still going on, but we're going to feature the first year, which was last year. And then we will weave in some readings that inspired us along the way, especially Janine will. And we're hoping that you kind of get the sense that, as we were, of kind of figuring out what it is we were doing and ending up with our understanding of community art therapy and what it meant at this setting. So to start, it's important, I think, to situate MackAlive. That was the name of the community center because it was on Mack Avenue, and it had been described as a dying neighborhood, but the community center thought, no, we're not dying, we're alive. We're going to be MackAlive. So that's how the name happened. But MackAlive is in Detroit, Michigan, and Detroit's had a lot of bad press because it declared bankruptcy. I don't know if you heard that. They were going to sell the art from the Art Institute and all this stuff. But I didn't want to have everything bad about Detroit, because it isn't. There's some very wonderful things about Detroit. Like, we have this international border with Windsor, Ontario, and so there's already this great bridge. There, I should have had a picture of the bridge. That was dumb. Leading over to Canada. We've got this great island park in the middle of the Detroit River. Detroit is home to Motown Records.
Yes,
I mean, that's, who else can say that? So if you ever come, you should visit the museum. It's great. And of course, the auto industry. But Detroit, as I said, has had its share of challenges. Like this kind of tall building by the river, that's General Motors headquarters. From the other view, you can see, maybe, I don't know if we can do anything with lights, but just, very close by General Motors, an abandoned house and an empty lot. And Detroit has had thank you for trying to mess with that a little bit, a really remarkable population loss. From its height in the 1950s, close to 2 million people. The last census was under 700,000, and even since 2000, 27% population shrinkage. And that's because, like other cities, job loss, unemployment, poverty, etc. But the thing that's really kind of unique about Detroit has to do with the auto industry. When Henry Ford was first building cars, he said that people could make $5 a day, which was enough to buy a house and a car. And so there is a large number of single-family homes, unlike other cities which might have multiple family units. But what happens when people leave their home, then the home is torn down eventually, and you get these empty lots. And Detroit actually has empty lots the size of Rhode Island. So, no kidding, you can drive down some streets and see empty lots. And Detroit is now, I think, in this place where they're using the empty lots to its advantage, and that's going to be part of our presentation. want to show you another map of Detroit. This is from the 2010 census, and this is a concerning fact to me, and it's related to our presentation. So Detroit, the metro area, still probably has about 2 million people, but what happened were the white people moved to the suburbs, and that left the black people in Detroit. And so this is, the blue is African American, and you see that concentrated in the downtown city. The red is Caucasian, and each dot represents 25 people. I got this from the census. And so pay attention to this little area right here. So I have another slide. And this is a slide of the east side of Detroit that shows Detroit and the east side suburb of the Grosse Pointes. There are 5 different Grosse Pointes. And when you know how they're always redrawing districts. So now this House District 2 encompasses the east side of Detroit and 3 of the Grosse Pointes suburbs. And this is our state representative, Alberta Tinsley Talabi. And so I live in Grosse Pointe, and in our neighborhood paper 2 years ago, she wrote an article. She was kind of new to representing the Grosse Pointes. And in the article, she invited 3 families from Detroit and 3 families from Grosse Pointe to have dinner together. And she said to discuss issues and find solutions. She said, it doesn't matter if you're from Detroit or the Grosse Pointes. You want safety, you want a good education, you want opportunities to succeed and communicate. She said, you want the same things. So she invited people together. Well, after that article, I looked up her email address and I emailed her. And I wanted to tell her about this mural that was being painted in her district with all kinds of people from Detroit and the suburbs. This was with a group called Arts Core Detroit. And I thought she might like to see it. It was in her district. You know, she seemed like she might be interested. So she did answer me back. It was after we were done painting that part of the mural. But she invited me to meet with her, and so we met at a restaurant across the street from that mural. And so we were talking, and as we were talking, she said, well, would you like a little tour of you know, some parts of the district that maybe you haven't seen? I said, well, sure. So she got in my car and we drove around, and she actually lives in the house where she grew up. And it's a big, beautiful home. But unlike when she grew up, houses on either side are gone, and she herself takes care of the lawn, and you know, with neighbors, and she's organized this lawn mowing and things. And then she said, oh, I see, you know, so-and-so across the street. Do you mind, whatever I make for my breakfast, I give to him? And he was someone that was just staying in the house across the street, a homeless person. And I was like, no, I don't mind. So she went in, she got this plate of food and took it to him. So this was all, I hadn't ever met her or heard of her or anything. And then she said, have you been to MackAlive? And I said, no, I've never heard of MackAlive, you know. And so we went to MackAlive, and this is what this is. And come to find out, she founded MackAlive 23 years ago. And I don't know any other person in politics who can say that, you know, they made a community center. And so it involved refurbishing a home that had been in that area. So the mission of MackAlive is to enhance the growth and development of the east side of Detroit through comprehensive programs and services that educate, empower, and elevate the entire community. We envision a safe community that is economically sound, healthy, and vibrant. So if you go on their website, you'll read about programs they have. They have after-school tutoring, for example. They have a vocational program called Buddies in Business. They have a male mentoring program. They have now a program on Saturdays for women in recovery. So all kinds of programs. They help, on the second floor there are all these computers if you want to print out a resume, all kinds of resources. It's really a wonderful center. On the first floor, people had donated very fine art. It's just lovely. But anyway, they didn't have any art program. And they were interested in doing something with gardening because on the sides of this building, on this side anyway, there is an empty lot. And right across the street, I wanted to show you, is this house, which they just bought for $1,600. And it's going to be a residential facility for veterans. And they got a fairly sizable development grant to plan a for-profit garden that the veterans are going to run. So I know. So I mean, you know, they just do so many cool things. I just wanted to be there with them. And then it gets better because this is a painting Alberta showed me on the second floor. I just kind of made the writing larger so you could see. She had been on city council. She said when in any office she's ever held, she has this painting. And it says, always hold firmly to the thought that each of us can do something to bring some portion of misery to an end. And she, you know, she's just a wonderful person. So, I helped MackAlive write a mini grant for what we thought would be an art program. They were interested in a mural and a gardening program. And the mini grant ended up paying for a gardener, someone with mural expertise. You know, and it could have been an art therapy individual. We ended up hiring 2 people that had helped with the mural down the street that I showed you earlier. One was a gardener, master gardener, and the other had a mural business. So that's mostly what it paid for, and then also miscellaneous supplies. So the participants in this summer program were the kids who came to tutoring after school. So this started in May. And this is Marilyn standing up there. She is their development officer. And so she kind of organized this little circle, and she had an agenda written down because we were going to talk about our plan and get the input of the kids. And she cracked me up because she said, this is how adults have meetings. They have an agenda. So she passed out an agenda. And so anyway, we sat in a circle and talked about gardening, talked about painting a mural, you know, where might it go, inside, outside, what would you like to see on a mural, things like that. After school ended, these are the kids, like I said, came for tutoring every day, but on Wednesdays we had them not do the tutoring, we had them be in the art program. And then after school let out, then Saturdays was added because you'll see how big this mural got. They had a tutor who was a Detroit public school teacher, and so she and the artist and the gardener and myself and Janine and some other students from Wayne State all planned this together. So you see here we're bridging already multiple disciplines in trying to carry out this project. And we began with having the kids draw their favorite garden vegetables and flowers, and you know what might they like to see, and what shape of garden ideally would they be interested in. Here you see the gardener Halima in a pink sweatshirt, and she was having them sprout sunflowers, taking seeds from a sunflower from the previous season and planting them in little cups. And I thought to myself, I did this when I was in school, and we all wrote our name on the paper cup and put it by the window. And so I suggested, would you like me to have the kids write their names on the cups? No, Holly, because, you know, I mean, some people's sunflowers might come up, some might not. She said, besides, we're going to plant these outside, and so these are going to be all our flowers. So again, you know, community activity. So the children learned about how compost is made, container gardening, drainage, They mixed organic soil with the dirt from the ground, which was really hard dirt. So they learned about improving the quality of the soil. They learned about transferring plants to make room so that all could grow. But more than gardening, Halima said, what we're doing is important. We're sharing information, we're asking questions, we're being with each other, and we're caring for the earth. There's just so many wonderful things. The other thing was a lot of the kids had earbuds in and they're playing music. And she said, what are you listening to? Are you putting something positive in your brain? She says, because we only want positive things going in our brain. So I was really impressed with her and learned a lot from her. So they started gardening. I think Janine's going to discuss the next few slides. We're just going to go through some of the gardening.
Absolutely. Thank you all for coming. My name is Janine Conley-Berry, and I'll be actually doing a lot of quotes today, a lot of relevant quotes regarding urban gardening. And actually what I thought was really interesting is that, as you can see, these gardens have flourished, and as you can see, there's growth. And actually, as you can see, I was awarded a huge basket of kale, so I was excited. I'm like, yeah, I can go home and make that salad. So it was actually really interesting because it was just nice to know that we had growth in our gardens and the kids are seeing results. That's what's most important. And so I thought that was really cool. And so harvest brings opportunities, of course, for to bring to cook, to create salads, make recipes, all types of stuff. And I thought that was really cool. So we're going to move on to the history of urban gardening. And urban gardening has had a long history in Detroit. Gardens ranging from the CompuWare, employee facilitated CompuWare garden in downtown Detroit, and the home gardens like those of MackAlive. Many of the empty lots around the city of Detroit are turning into gardens, which to me almost reminds me of a canvas. When we look at something empty, we're looking at an opportunity, not necessarily just to create art, but to create an opportunity for change, for healing, for a lot of different things. And so basically, urban gardening not only represented sustainability, but as a statement to protect, preserve, and transform a state of mind. Gardens can serve many different purposes, but most of all, to bring tranquility and unity among all of us. Even 100-year-old Detroit activist Grace Lee Boggs, I'm going to be saying a lot of her quotes, but I think she's awesome. But she says, instead of trying to keep our children isolated in classrooms for 12 years or more, we engage them in community building activities with the same audacity with which the civil rights movement engaged them in desegregating activities 40 years ago. Planting community gardens, recycling waste, organizing neighborhood arts and health festivals, rehabbing houses, and painting public murals. She also further states that this movement is very clear about the tangible benefits of urban agriculture. It provides fresh, nutritious food, beautifies neighborhoods, provides fresh, nutritious food, creates neighborhood social capital, advances neighborhood economic development, and stabilizes communities. But it also provides concrete examples of alternatives, value-oriented means of securing our livelihoods. And also, Melvin Delgado, the author of Community Social Work Practice in the Urban Context, concurs with this theory. Urban gardens are an essential part of an ecological system that fosters the development of community relationships and capacity enhancement. And so basically, let's keep in mind that these gardens may help children learn new skills such as gardening and social skills. This is especially important for some that have never soiled their hands. This boosts self-esteem and confidence because not only have they learned some doable tasks, but they learn to contribute to something positive and impactful. So I'm quoting I'm quoting something from the Delgado article, Hines. At its core, the community garden movement in the late 20th century is about rebuilding neighborhood community and restoring ecology to the inner city. It's teaching children horticulture. It's cleaning up lots, providing areas of beauty, lifting spirits, taking control of the environment that seems hostile and beyond control, growing and preserving plants from seed to shelf, feeding people and improving nutrition. More important than parks, community gardens create relationships. So if you think about it, if we go to a park, it's just for recreational purposes. But if we're creating a community garden, that is an opportunity for all of us to come together and to build relationships and make connections and to build something that is a symbol of pride and hope. And most importantly, which I thought was interesting, it raises property values. I thought that was really interesting.
So mostly on the rainy days, we did art inside, and we did things like just some media exploration, some identity, self-awareness, kinds of typical traditional art therapy kinds of things. Outside, we observed nature, and Halima led them on kind of a unit on the Fibonacci patterns. And so they also had disposable cameras. I don't know if we mentioned that or not. So they were taking pictures along the way too. And then the teacher who had the kids in tutoring the other days followed up and had them write about what they did, like on a Thursday, what did you do Wednesday in the garden? And so they kept journals as well. So it was a very nice program. Everybody contributed. Through the Fine Arts Department at Wayne State was offering a mobile printmaking workshop because they had a big printmaking conference at Wayne State last year. They came out to MackAlive and did a day-long printmaking workshop. And so this was just kind of in the middle of the summer. Kids did some printmaking. As I said, throughout the season, the participants had disposable cameras that they used to record their experiences. And our other presenter who would have been here, Laura, taught them things that I wouldn't have thought of with the disposable cameras, like how to read the box, because it actually says how far you should be from your subject, and how to look in the viewfinder and kind of compose a composition within the four corners. We talked about asking permission first before they took someone else's picture, things like that. At the very end of the season, their films were developed and given back to them, and then they chose one image for enlargement, and we had a little art show. I had hoped to do more of photo voice, and that was in the description of this program, but it didn't really work out that way because we had different kids a lot of times coming every week. And so has anybody heard of photo voice? I love the idea of photo voice, and it's taking pictures of what's good about your neighborhood, what about your neighborhood would you like to see changed, and then the goal is to get these photos out in the public to maybe a newspaper or a public art show, or to I thought, well, we had the ideal situation with having a state representative who did have the photos, and some made it into her newsletter. This is the reality of it's actually on Fisher at Mac in Detroit, and but so it wasn't exactly a true photo voice project, but I think it had its value using the cameras. So then, as I said, we were going to paint a mural. So we're going to switch over and show you the mural. All these things were happening simultaneously.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's a two-story building. So the side of the building is that. And I thought, okay, we'll paint like the cement underneath, but we have the director of the program at the time says, paint the whole thing.
Yeah. I know. Again, I'd like to point out again that this looks like a canvas, again, an opportunity. So basically, well, once we had meetings with the children of MackAlive, we asked for their input in creating this mural. And we also asked the input of other community members or neighborhood members as far as giving any ideas. And it was decided to have the more popular ideas was creating a sunrise colors. And so basically, because of the scale of the wall, there were many groups that came in, but they didn't come in every week, but they were able to give their input. But what was decided was we were going to create a design where everyone can fill in and give their input, even if it was just a small input. And again, that's how community works. So basically, it was going to be sunrise colors, and the mural artist was going to do a paisley design, and the theme was going to be "We Are One" as the title. I want you to keep in mind the meaning of "We Are One." So again, quoting Delgado, I like to point out this information here, that murals have a long and rich history, from cave paintings that were popular as part of the New Deal back in 1933 through 1943, and during the 1960s social movements. Benefits of murals include reaffirming ethnic and racial identities. And of course, if you think of a mural, it's larger than life. It's like, boom, it's right there. And so when kids are a part of that, even if they were just doing a small corner, that they feel empowered. They felt, I did something. I did something to contribute to this. And not only that, it's decorative. And most importantly, it's community building. So here, we actually invited the Timbuktu Academy, and the Timbuktu Academy of Science and Technology. They stand on their mission to instill in children a sense of pride by reinforcing group identity and self-esteem through knowledge of African and African American history and accomplishments. So when me and Holly were observing how these children were reacting to their teachers, their female teachers, they called them Mama. They called them either Mama Johnson or Mama Carla. And so it gives a sense of belonging, safety, and most importantly, it gives a sense of village and family. And that's the community philosophy.
Their principal came too and painted. She was really impressed.
Yeah. So here's the process. We're getting started. They were anxious to get started, as you can see. And we're halfway done. And so they really enjoyed this process. This is, of course, it's not just one person creating this, it's a collective of people. And so the MackAlive youth also helped, and so did the Arts Corps Detroit volunteers. And also there were other neighbors that joined in too. Now here's the scaffold. Now basically, me and Holly had a chance to talk with a lifelong volunteer of MackAlive. Her name is Val. And she's a very colorful character because she's just funny, she's wonderful, she's fun to be around. And basically we were talking about, of course the conference theme is bridging. And so basically when we think about bridging, we're thinking about a bridge which basically is a structure that connects two places. So in this case here, we use the bridge as a metaphor for our work. And so basically we're incorporating structure in these kids' lives. We're creating some sort of a safety net. And so what was interesting about this is that me and Holly and Val, we just kind of thought about it. And we're just like, wow, isn't that interesting? How to build a scaffold so that we can get to one area, I should say one step at a time, one level just to paint the second level, then we got to go to the top. How do we do that? A lot of these kids don't necessarily know how to do that. So it was, all of a sudden we all came together. It was different people of the community, different kids that were observing this. And it was one person, I mean, if you look at it, a scaffold at first is a pile of poles, metal poles. It's just sitting there. But one person recognized the base, one person determined which parts interlocked, one person assisted with the lifting of it, and one person stood in the back and directed. And soon the scaffold was put together. Again, that bridging, that contact.